drought-related consequences there, cattle dying and looking emaciated, and I suppose it all to do and connected with climate change, which is not only harming Mother Nature, but humans are also severely affected. Experts are warning that the rising temperatures leading to heat waves in the country have a devastating impact on our health. They urge citizens to take extra precautionary steps during this hot season. Well, to help us unpack the current status of climate change in the country, we're now joined from our Pretoria studio by Juanette John, who's an environmental health scientist at the CSIR. Juanette, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program. We've just
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we've just seen a really disturbing story in Limpopo, emaciated cattle, some of them dying. And, you know, we've had droughts for centuries. What is unusual about the climate types that we're seeing at the moment?
Okay, I'm not a climate modeler, but basically temperatures are going higher and are increasing all the time. And there is... my meteorological colleagues, they are predicting that temperatures are going to increase and that we are going to get warmer days and more temperature variability. So more warmer days, more droughts, but with more wet weather in between.
All right, and with that, of course, we get affected as human beings. What sort of effects do we succumb to or need to worry about when we go through these heat waves?
Well, people are vulnerable in different ways. I mean, there are a lot of factors that play a role. Depends on where you live, what you do, what your age is. We all know that old people are more vulnerable because they, a variety of reasons as well. And people with existing diseases, people with mental health issues are especially at risk, often also, a variety of reasons, and people in informal settlements where if it's heat related, you know, if they don't have access to proper water or they live in a structure that doesn't have proper insulation, those are all factors that can play a role. And I mean, it's a complex issue, so yeah.
Who are you finding are the most vulnerable?
In order to determine the risk of communities, you have to look at about vulnerable to what. I mean, there are different factors that are important if you look at heat stress as compared to, for example, flooding or sea level rise or so. So obviously people in informal settlements, the factors that we use to determine their social vulnerability, a lot of those factors, you know, put them at higher risk. But then again, if you recall the rains and all the flooding we had at the East Coast, where many well-off people were actually affected. But the difference is that they often have much better coping ability, so they have access to insurance or health that people in poor socioeconomic conditions don't have. So, yeah.
So typically, what kind of interventions can we deploy and try and prevent? I mean, as you say, there's a wide array of problems related to this climate change story. Perhaps the most frequently occurring, what kind of responses can we put in play?
Again, it depends on what it is. At the moment, I think the heat waves and temperatures, high temperatures, is one of the, I think, biggest concerns. But there are things that you can do, to drink enough water, and especially for children, to make sure they don't get dehydrated, to also maybe to have a buddy system for children at schools or people who are especially vulnerable. I think there are CDC in those places, they have very good tips of what you can do. For example, if you have heat cramps or heat stress, and and hospitals,
Yeah.
and hospitals also, should
So-
be geared to.
So I can imagine, I mean, the battle that we have in South Africa is this carbon footprint, and that comes with it all sorts of problems. The climate story, depleting of the ozone layer, but then also we have these air pollutants that then affect us as well.
Yes, no, that
Yeah.
definitely goes along, especially with increasing temperatures, and you get more veld fires as well, and so it is on top of all the other factors.
So is heat stroke something that we really need to be concerned about more than a lot of things right now with this heat wave?
I think especially people who work outdoors, like farmers or farm workers, people on construction sites and so on, I think are more at risk. And I think things to do is, not in the middle of the day to be, outside in the sun. A lot of the interventions are, fairly straightforward, but it's something that I think also managers and people who are supervisors actually should be aware of and should really care for the people that work under them, and also people who may be running or active people who do a lot of sport. I think should also be careful about when they go and to make sure they stay hydrated.
All right, so what sort of trends are you seeing more and more of as an environmental health specialist?
Well, we don't deal, because we don't work sort of at a hospital, we're not primary healthcare, but we do see, one of the things, for example, malaria, the patterns of malaria are changing with temperatures increasing. And I can't really give you information about specific areas. It's more because we work preventative. We try and see what are the actual factors that can make people put them more at risk, so that we can help people to understand what are the things that they should actually do to reduce that, to help people to adapt or to mitigate the impacts of these
John,
exposures.
it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much indeed for giving us some insights on something that we must become more and more aware of. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
okay, so climate change, a hot topic. Another one is e-tolls.
Yes, indeed, Peter.